My name is Rowena Stewart. I'm one of the academic support librarians, and there's one of us assigned to each school, and we're here to try and help you get the best or the most out of the library here at the University of Edinburgh. Also with us today on this session are Angela Nicholson, who is another academic support librarian, and two helpers, Amanda Webber and Melanie Smith, who are here to make sure everything goes smoothly, fingers crossed. So we're at the How to Find Academic Literature. It's just a very brief overview, and then with, as the other how-to sessions that you've maybe attended, with some places you can go for help afterwards. As I say, do, if you can, please save your questions about the content till the end, and if you do are raising your hand, then we'll ask you at the end to enter your questions in the chat. So hopefully after this brief overview, you'll have an idea of what to think about when you've got some kind of search to do for academic literature on a topic where you haven't been given the readings. And you'll know some of the key library resources which might be useful, or at least where to get to them, and be able to know how to get the full text of what it is you find you want to read. Because there is so much academic literature, or just literature in general, out there that you might be relevant to any topic that you're researching and that you need to find out about, it can sometimes be helpful to put a question, to put your topic in the form of a research question. But it is certainly very useful to have a think about what the main concepts are. So what would something that would be useful for you to read or to use for your piece of work, what should it contain for it to be something worth using? So an example of a question might be, how useful is mindfulness for students experiencing exam stress? But whether you make that into a question or not, knowing that something useful to you would have to have something about mindfulness, would have some mention of students, so the right group of people, and also something about stress or exam stress. So the words that you come up with that describe your concepts, these are search terms. So they're the words and phrases that you might use to find relevant material on a topic. As well as the first words and phrases that you think of to describe your concept, it is helpful to have other ones as well. So any synonyms are useful. Also anything that's maybe not core in its relevancy, but still might bring you back useful material, should, when you start looking for everything that you're after, should that bring you back not enough, or you want to expand the search results that you do get from the words that you've thought of. So for example, for mindfulness, perhaps something about meditation is useful to you. If you can't find enough on students in particular, perhaps something about adolescents or young adults would be the right kind of research for you. And if it's not exam stress itself, does something research about stress, does that provide work that you can use? So just need to fall back on other ways of thinking your particular concepts. You may also want to have a think about the sort of material that you need or that's expected of you to use for the piece of work that you're producing. So is it appropriate to use magazine articles, Wikipedia entries, or do you need something that's another level up? So academic books, journal pieces, and perhaps properties data. Does it need to be primary data, first-hand accounts? So having an idea of what something has to have for it to be useful and what type of material is useful is good when you before you go looking for what it is that you're going to use for your piece of work. For those of you who have been at other sessions, particularly library ones, it's possible that you've already heard of Discover Ed, and that's the name that we give to the library catalogue here at the University of Edinburgh. It's the place of record for the book and journal titles that the library buys on your behalf, but it also has article level information in it as well. So you can use it to do literature searches because some of the content in there will be at that kind of level, a level that you can use. By default, it's useful, DiscoverEd, because by default what it returns are results that you should be able to read because the library has got access to them, whether they're online or in print. It also has an advanced search option, which is useful if you've got lots of concepts and perhaps a more complicated search strategy. You want to have some synonyms, but more than one concept as well. Then the advanced search can help with that because it lets you split things up a bit more. There is an option if you want to do a search and find results which may not be held by the library, but which are out there on the subject that you're interested in. When you get a set of results, then you can expand them beyond the library collections. And that would give you more results usually on the same search terms that you've put in, but some of those results you may not be able to read because the library hasn't bought access to them. The other information on this slide is about the Refine panel, which is where the Expand Results Beyond Library Collections option appears in DiscoverEd. The other options you might use from that panel include the type of material that your results could be. So you might choose that you just want to look at articles, and from all of the results that you get back, you can use the options in the Refine My Results section to get down to those which are just about the articles, which are just on articles. So DiscoverEd is useful for searching the academic literature. It gives you article level information as well as book and journal and other titles of items that we've bought at the library for you to use. That tells you about them, whether they are print or whether they are online resources. And it has some features which are useful for something a bit more less simple, a bit more of an advanced search. If you would, the other things that the university library buys, which are helpful for literature searching, are databases, academic literature databases, sometimes called abstracting and indexing databases or bibliographic databases. And these also tell you about the contents of journals. So journal article level information, sometimes also book chapters, maybe theses. There are databases which tell you about the contents of particular formats of material, so newspapers and patents, standards as well, and many for primary data and also for chemical structural data as well, for example. You can see these resources, the ones that the library has bought, and you can see them listed by subject area. From the MyEd channel here, which is under the studies area of MyEd, if you choose the search and access library resources link in the library section that you would find under MyEd and studies, you will see the image that's on this slide here. And you could either have a look at the databases by subject page that the link there highlighted takes you to at the top, or the bottom arrow is taking you the link to the subject guides. And they also will have information about databases which would be useful in your particular subject area, but they also have the contact details for people like me and Angela who would be able to help you if you have more particular problems with using the library, particularly with your literature searching, and also other information in the subject area that the library can help you with. When it comes to getting hold of what you found exists, then it always helps wherever you found it from. If you've tried links or buttons that are supposed to give you the full text and they haven't worked, it's still worth double checking DiscoverEd to see if we have what is that you need, but just perhaps not from the place that the link you found it from was going to take you to, or we might even have something in print which we don't have online. So typically, if you've found a full text button and link and it's not working for you, then you would use DiscoverEd to look for the source of that reference, so the journal title or the book title. As I say, the reason to do this is because the library doesn't buy everything online, and we don't always buy it from the publisher site, for example, and things may still be available in print, which we don't have online. So it's always worth double checking Discovered if there's something you want to read and the link you found hasn't worked for you. If the library doesn't have what you need, though, there are other ways of getting hold of it. So the Library Resources Plus webpage, the link for which is at the bottom of the image on this slide, that takes you to a page that suggests 3 options. So one of them, you can ask us to buy something, a book that we don't have. So do please make use of that. If there's something that you think we should have and we don't, then do please do use the request a book option. That's not as quick, though, as using the interlibrary loan service, which is what the library provides to get hold of material that we don't have. So you would get copies, for example, of articles that the library doesn't have, and copies of scans of those that you can keep, chapters of books, also physical items that we can borrow from elsewhere to lend to you. Interlibrary loan is usually quicker than asking us to buy something that we don't have. You may also be able to go to another library which has what you want. That would usually be on a reference-only basis, and it's always best to double check where you want to go to see what it is you have to do before you head off, and when you get there, if you would be allowed to do what it is that you would like to do when you get there. So if we don't have something that you want to read, there are ways of asking us to get hold of it, or you may be able to go elsewhere which does have it. The main, I would say, service is the Interlibrary Loan Service, and have a look at the web pages there for more information about the Interlibrary Loan Service.